So, judging by the latest criticisms of Vinland Saga, I came into the second season somewhat aware that I might be let down, and my answer so far is, the new Farmville is pretty lit. Thorfin, son of Thor's childhood in war, revenge in his knives, and remorse nowhere in his vocabulary. My treadmill used to speed up at the hype of Vinland Saga and the battles waged with Thorfin at the helm. And yet the difference between the first season of Vinland Saga and the second is so drastic, it made me wonder if I was watching the same show. There's a change that grows like the season in this new chapter in Thorfinn's life. There's a purpose in why he is there and the different kind of warfare he will have to endure. This is the story of the death of a badass, how Vinland Saga made the most inspirational character. Vengeance isn't a Batman exclusive. There are countless stories told that involve seeking justice in the form of violence. Vinland Saga is no exception. It's part of the reason why I was so invested in the first place. There's a human reaction to wrongdoing that makes everyone want to go psycho red. Do wrong unto me, and I do wrong unto you tenfold. You kill my dog, I kill you and everything you own. You kill my family, I make sure the Greek pantheon gets the three-shoe beating. And this is the stuff I root for in anime and movies. I want Thorfinn's revenge to be executed, his blades to reach Askeladd's throat, but it never did so. Thorfinn's revenge was taken away from him and he was put into slavery. So my expectations of the story going forward was a little confused. Like, I had a slight kindling at where the story could go. Perhaps a story of Thorfinn fighting his way out of bondage, sailing the seas again and purging his enemies in scarlet streaks on the floor, never doubting that his rage was only waiting to be released. But like everyone knows now, the next arc takes place on a farm. Thorfinn looks very different than he used to, and because I'm an impatient scoundrel, I wanted to know when badass Thorfinn would return. So I read ahead in the manga, and what I found was someone else. The Thorfinn I knew was dead, and the farm mark killed him. Thorfinn's only conclusion to having peace and avenging his father was with the death of Askeladd, and with that gone, he's empty. Being a slave brings no issue to him. He has no other direction in life to take. Day by day, he chops down trees, a husk that only knows how to swing an axe. Even when a blade was striking his body, he didn't even blink. He only asked, why do we have to be afraid of death? Are we alive because we don't want to die? Does something good come from living? It hasn't for me. In all the days I've lived, not one good thing has happened. That scene made me feel like I missed something. Like, what was the point of watching Thorfinn reach all these great feats to only see him fall from the pedestal I put him on? The comparison between young Thorfinn when he was still in Iceland, Thorfinn when he was seeking revenge, and then looking at him now made me rethink what kind of character Thorfinn was supposed to be. Who would have thought that this guy would be his salvation? Can't even save this lady. What changes his path isn't a blossoming friendship with Einar, the new slave hand assigned to clear the land to make more wheat for the owner of the farm. Originally, I thought Einar was going to be a character tossed in to be thrown out sooner or later, but he became a rather interesting character. He's a hard worker, he's brave, a little easy to anger, but more importantly, he's kind, and a wheat grower. They work together every day, chopping down trees, digging out stumps, and planting wheat. This man, who had his family and livelihood taken away by Vikings, chose to befriend Thorfinn, whose kill count goes beyond those of Einar's enemies. What these two became to each other is close to salvation. Always relying on each other for stability, Thorfinn able to pacify Einar's anger when he cannot control it, and Einar becoming a beacon of positivity to the dark world Thorfinn has always known. If you want a good example of great writing and character development, just look at this scene where Thorfinn is trying to calm Einar down for destroying their wheat.
お前が奉公人をぶっ殺すって言うんなら、俺もお前に100回はぶっ殺されなきゃならないはずだ。まず冷静になってくれ。頼む。エイナル。
Does this seem like a character who could have said that? These two being together created the gateway to a different story, a story branching off of revenge rather than propelling it, and it all stems from Thorfinn's dream. Thorfinn is always haunted in his reoccurring nightmare, always screaming in the middle of the night. Now, these dreams show Thorfinn resting near a tree as if he woke up from a bad dream, relaxing in the fact that he is at peace. Thorfinn looks over to find his father by his side, attending to a sheep with a somber look on his face, and Thors mutters, "I smell blood." And there's a pause of silence. Thors looks to him and asks, "Who did you kill with those knives?" Thorfinn, realizing that his knives are back in his hands, covered in blood, Thorfinn becomes shocked as he finds himself tugged by an arm emerging from the ground. And then this scene happens.
今ならお前にもわかるだろう。お前に敵などいない。誰にも敵などいないんだ。
My heart hurts. Thorfinn has his feet dragged down by corpses, and what we find at the bottom of the chasm is hell. Assumed to be Valhalla, but rather a place of infinite warfare, Thorfinn finds Askeladd on a pillar, while Thorfinn hangs on to dear life not to fall. Askeladd lets him know that this is not the afterlife, but the real world. In this place, there is no winners, no losers. In this place, everyone is the enemy. Is this Overwatch 2, chat? Askeladd tells him, you used to live here, but when you got hollowed out, you escaped. Looking down, Askeladd points out to the mountain of corpses reaching out for Thorfinn, each a person he has killed. This is where I shed my first tear, and I'm just gonna try my best to narrate this for you. I can't remember when or where I killed you. I'm sure you didn't want to die. I'm sorry. With tears falling from Thorfinn's eyes. I didn't even know Thorfinn had tear ducts, so it hurt a lot to know that when faced with his father's disappointment and the people he slaughtered, no matter how cool it was, in the end all of the guilt was too heavy for Thorfinn. Now arrows started to fly towards Thorfinn from undead archers, and Askeladd goes down and cuts the archers down and tells Thorfinn, you don't want to fall back down here, do you? Then let them hang off of you and climb. That is your true battle. Go and take those you've killed with you. Fight your true battle. Become a true warrior, Thorfinn. And then Thorfinn wakes up, and he sees Einar, and he confesses this.
どうした？お前も痛むか？
エイナル、俺は今までに大勢の人たちをこの手で殺してしまった。お前の家族のような名前も知らない人たちを、何の恨みもない人たちを。なのに今日また人を殴った。もうこれっきりだ。俺はもう二度と人を傷つけない。もう今日で暴力と決別するんだ。生まれ変わるんだ。生まれ変わって償いをしなくちゃ。
This was a change that left many people, many fans, questioning whether or not they should continue. From what you can guess from this decision is a very different Thorfinn, like someone who no longer wants to fight and would rather talk out the issue than sacrifice a life that can be spared. You can see comments of people hating the new Thorfinn and others hating on those who hate the new Thorfinn. But to me, this story is a lesson, a beautiful lesson. Like, the author of Vinland Saga made it clear that he wanted to instill a message to everyone about violence and war, but more than that, he made a character who embodied hatred, power, and war, and changed him to be peaceful and kind and hopeful. Almost as if to say that if a man like Thorfinn can change, why can't I? Or why can't you? But man, I miss the old Thorfinn, and yeah, I understand why many people would feel that way. The way Thorfinn acts is relatable when he is seeking revenge for his father. It's like awesome how skillful it is to take up down a man 3 times his size while still being a child. But as we see in Vinland Saga, we know that revenge isn't a path. It's a hellscape. I argue that the level of difficulty it takes to restrain yourself from violence is more intense than taking down a man with knives. although maybe not visually as striking. And as you will see, if you continue with Vinland Saga, is the fact that even though Thorfinn is done with violence, violence continues to stalk him at every turn. The temptation to go back to his old ways always seems to be his only option, and it challenges him to such a harsh degree that I wonder how it would even be possible to seek a peaceful resolution. But he does, and the reoccurring message will always be there. There is always another way, we just need to find it. The Thorfinn I see is an inspiration, and I believe he'll be an inspiration to you too. The person he has become now is someone worth following chapter to chapter. And if it helps out at all, there's still a bunch of badass moments in this story. It's just a different kind of method Thorfinn uses when there is a conflict. His character moved me to tears at some points because I felt how much Thorfinn wanted to change his ways, knowing that actions he decided were actions way more mature than I could do in the same situation. There are characters out there who are brooding, who are tough, and have abilities to be able to shake mountains, but what moves me more are those characters that show kindness when it is hard to do so, who are humble rather than proud, and those who try to seek peace when war seems inevitable. Thorfinn has become that character to me, and it is all thanks to this farm arc. So I ask that you please give this farm arc a chance, because this change you see in Thorfinn might be a change you eventually see in yourself, and that is a powerful thing. I actually want to amend my original statement. This arc is not about the death of a badass. It is the birth of a true warrior.